funny how the Q-tards and the Trumpomators talk about Trump derangement syndrome as if being able to see him for what he is a derangement syndrome. The pot meets the kettle at last, and it turns out the kettle actually is blacker than the pot.
Actor Woody Harrelson has not held back on Donald Trump.
He wanted Jesse Ventura, trying to convince him to be his vice presidential running mate to run for the Democratic, for presidency. I sat there and I listened to this guy go on and on about everything he owned and how much money he had. But either way, he goes on and it was so demoralizing listening to this guy that I just had to walk outside and take a deep breath.
Because you're getting dirty. You're getting dirty.
Yeah, I felt dirty.
Yeah,
I felt like I wanted, if there was a place I could take a shower.
Yeah.
He says, I'm worth about $4 million, but I know that when I die, my children are going to fight over it. And I thought, well, okay, he said something, He's like a boxer who does all the name calling and all the grandstanding and the self-promoting, and yet he can't box.
Even sharing anecdotes from a dinner the two shared. Note who Harrelson sat next to in this next piece of video.
He's a fraud. He lies. He cheats people. Everything that comes out of his mouth virtually is a lie. And he's a con man. And if you look at what he's done with his career and how he's tricked people into things, it's abhorrent. The idea that that man could be president of the United States is abhorrent. I can't not hate somebody who bilks innocent people out of money, life savings. And we've seen it. With that Trump University, he took people's money, $35,000, wiped these people out, and is being sued for it. He steals money from charities and curries political favor. I'm apoplectic, to be honest with you, and I don't understand how the American press is not apoplectic. This is dangerous, what this guy is doing. He's a liar. He's a misogynist. He's a racist. He's a homophobic. You name it. You name it. And the fact that he is running for president in the United States, in America, is, you can't say the words. It's beyond comprehension, beyond belief.
The late Rob Reiner.
I used to dream about being a Secret Service agent, but then that passed when I realized the character that I liked on television was actually an actor playing a Secret Service agent. And so I did. I wanted to be an actor from fairly young, not as young as Bree. I was like, actually, I was in college by the time I really thought that's what I wanted to do with my life. But luckily, I didn't become a Secret Service agent. I'd be having to protect Donald Trump right now. I just wouldn't sit well.
No, you would have a very big job right now to do.
Yeah, I'd be wanting to slip him some cyanide instead of jumping in front of a bullet. I shouldn't say these things.
Should not be saying these
Okay, well, I
things.
guess,
No.
well, that's out there.
If there's one thing about Woody, he's honest. To be clear, the clip of Harrelson going over the dinner story was so bad that at the time he claimed he had to go step outside and smoke a J. Here it was in further detail. Speaking with Esquire, Harrelson said, so we all met at Trump Tower, sat down, Melania was there, only she wasn't his wife yet. And it was, let me tell you, a brutal dinner, 2.5 hours. Fun part was watching Jesse's movies, he would continue. Now, at a fair table with 4 people, each person is entitled to 25% of the conversation, right? I'd say Melania got about 0.1%, maybe. I got about 1%. And the governor, Jesse, he got about 3%. Trump took the rest. It got so bad, I had to go outside and burn one before returning to the monologue monopoly.
Hi, I'm Dawn Fraser, and I'm here to talk about masseuse.
If you can out-talk Jesse Ventura to the point that you've shut him up, you've done well.
He would go on to say, listen, I came up through Hollywood, so I've seen Narcissist. This guy was beyond. It blew my mind. He did say one thing that was interesting, though. He said, I'm worth $4 billion, or maybe he said $5 billion, one of those numbers, I forget. Anyway, he said, I'm worth however many $billion, but when I die, no matter how much it is, I know my kids are going to fight over it. That was the one true statement he made that night, and I thought, okay, yeah, that's pretty cool. A weird part of all of this, he told Jimmy Kimmel not long ago that he and former Vice President...
Let's get real. Donald Trump has never been worth anything. Donald Trump is worth about $4 or $5 billion worth of favours. Get you owe enough money. Now everyone wants to look after you. No one wants to cut those losses. Now you become their bitch.
Mike Pence were tight in college. Quote, I knew him, yeah. We were both very religious. It was a Presbyterian college at the time, and I was there on a Presbyterian scholarship, and he was involved with the church activities. He'd say, I was actually considering being a minister, and then I just kind of went a different way. In that interview, he'd also stated, I actually quite liked him. I thought he was a pretty good guy. He's, very religious, very committed. Seeing as how I'm not quite in that ballpark now, I don't know how we'd get along, because I think he's still quite religious and just a whole different brand of religious. That kind of fervor that you really don't want. When Harrison played Lyndon B. Johnson in a movie, he gave this quote while doing the media rounds. He's the polar opposite of Trump. Added Reiner, it's not just the agenda either. He actually got things done. If you look at his legislative record, he's second only to FDR. To bring it back, what's crazy about Jesse Ventura is this.
For Donald Trump to sit back and pick a fight with us, his consultants gave him the wrong advice, I think, on that one. But and I don't know how this is going to come out. No one does. But I do know, let me fire this at you. I also don't have sympathy for us. Because the last election was a simple election. The people of America had the opportunity to choose the Constitution or the criminal. And what did they do? They chose the criminal. And now now what they're seeing surprises them. Oh, we're shocked and dismayed. This guy take a look at his record. Where are his casinos now? Bankrupt. Where is everything Trump touched? It turns from gold to trash. Once he's involved with it, look at his history. The guy is in the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. He's never even been in the ring. How can he be a member of the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame?
There should not be one billionaire in America. None. And I'll tell you why. Because there is nobody that works hard enough to earn $1 billion. And my argument is this. The 2 jobs I did in my life that were physically the most demanding and mentally the most difficult that I ever did paid me the least amount of money. One was going through buds, and I challenge any billionaire to put up with 6 weeks.
Yeah. Like I've been saying for ages now, democracy is a great experiment to ever be on life support and still fail. And Jesus was the greatest socialist to ever be murdered. My grandfather would spin in his grave if you heard me say that, but then he'd have a look around and he'd go, you know what? Carry on. Because he had a skewed misconception of what socialism is. Everyone's always been led to think that socialism and communism are bad fellows. Well, they're very strange bad fellows indeed. You see, communism is a similar economic structure other than the fact that communism flows upwards. It's all for the state. Whereas socialism flows outwards and it's all for the people. Well, I haven't seen an unhappy Russian yet.
To that at $62 every 2 weeks, you know. And the second was right before I went in the Navy. I had a job with the Minnesota Highway Department, couple bucks above minimum wage. I worked for the bridge crew, and you know what my job was? I worked a 4-day work week, 10 hours a day, so I could have Friday, Saturday, Sunday for the weekend. You're 18, of course you're going to do that. But I worked 40 hours in 4 days on the bridge crew, and guess what I did? Ran the 80-pound jackhammer. I challenge any billionaire to run the jackhammer for 40 hours 1 week and tell me he works harder than that. No, he doesn't. That's why I believe there should not be a billionaire in the world.
Very recently I've been introduced to doing radio. It's led me on a journey to do a series of interviews with people.
Ventura has gone off on Donald Trump, and he has gone off on him a lot. He has talked about how Trump ally like Hulk Hogan, first off, fought unionization because in a deposition when Vince McMahon was under oath, Jesse Ventura had his lawyer ask Vince how he heard about the fighters unionizing, which Ventura tried to organize. And under oath, Vince McMahon said Hulk Hogan. It was the late Hulk Hogan who told him all about that. So that was a tell. But, I mean, I understand that Ventura and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz are pretty tight, but the facts remain that the vice presidential nominations could not be more contrasting in their styles of who would be a better candidate between J.D. Vance and Tim Walz. And Ventura, who leans more libertarian, backed Walz 1,000%. 1,000%. And he will continue backing anybody that goes up against Donald Trump. Bare minimum, yes. But Ventura is also all about taxing billionaires. He doesn't think that billionaires should be a thing. And he has also gone after the levers of capitalism that so many billionaires like to pull in order to make our lives worse. So again, what just really gets me about all of this, that yes, the piece is focused on Woody Harrelson, but Donald Trump wanted Jesse Ventura to be his running mate at one point, and Ventura absolutely despises this man with every fiber of his being. Personally, I would love to have Jesse Ventura on, not just to talk about wrestling, but to also talk about the politics of the current moment in the United States. I think that'd be fantastic. What do you think? Hey, I appreciate you watching. Now, if you can, please do become a channel member by going to YouTube.
Agreed. The money in itself isn't inherently evil. You need some form of exchange of greed value. There's all kinds of things you can exchange. And my son collects quirky things. The home brand long life milk cartons. The Tetra ones. Now let's just say we made a secret deal on Jackal Island. And Daniel was JP Morgan. Suddenly he's the richest man in the world. That's about all your money's worth. He's right, the man's on 25. That one's $25. He got the idea to save these up from Fallout, I think. It kind of brings you back to this point. When we live in a world where we have charity places, like, I'm going to drop a name here, City Mission, just one of many, but I'm going to drop them because I actually have something to show you. They get funding from Vatican, funding from government. Not a single person on that side of the counter looks healthy because they're big, fat, redundant blobs. They're like clouds floating around in there behind their locked doors and shut windows. And everyone on this side of the counter looks sick and unhealthy, and actually there's some older people down there that we had 2 die in the last couple of weeks. They give constant charity to homeless drug addicts, which stops them from picking themselves up because they know they can rely on charity. But elderly people are going without. They're going without heat, they're going without air conditioning, they're going without medication, they're going without healthy food. This is ginger root. Yuck. Look. Look at it. It is sweated, it is mouldy, it is disgusting to the point. Look at the package. It's rotten. That is rotten as a chop. It's rotten. Look, yuck. Ugh. That's what they're giving the poorest of the poor. People who are NDIS people. Geez, your NDIS is looking after people well, aren't they? Because the people who are supposed to be cared for by NDIS go there for meals. And this is the food that they're given to take home as charity. Sometimes I'll go down this, they put it all out on a Friday. There's nothing there hardly all week, and then Friday they put out all this rotten food. Sometimes I'll grab a bunch of it and I'll bring it home for my chickens because it's not going to any people. And sometimes I don't bother. Why? Because our reusable bags, I'd have to throw me bags out at $3 a bag. It's not worth it. It's not worth dirtying the bag for free chicken food. But yet there are people down there that have not worked for years and years, I'm talking decades, that own multiple homes. And they're fat, redundant blobs of protoplasm floating around like clouds.